All right, welcome to session 3 of a roadmap to emotional recovery. You know, the word recovery is really important. We're bringing you through a process where you're not only recovering and healing emotionally, but we also, this is the session we're talking about recovering your dream and recovering your vision. You know, unfortunately for many of y'all, your dream has been destroyed. Your vision has been brought down to ashes. And so we need to give you permission to say, okay, let's do some of the emotional work of session 1 and 2 and start healing. And as you move through that, then you start to reignite hope, and we start to reignite our ability to vision about direction that we want to go. So we want to give you full permission to dream again, to seeing where you want to be a year from now, to see where you want to be 3 years from now. What does your ideal life look like? What are you most passionate about? If you could create your future without any limitation, what would that look like? We need to recalibrate the dream.
Right. Because one of the things that happens in survival mode and in trauma is that the ability to dream is gone. You cannot do that. When you are stuck, no fault of your own, when you're stuck in the trauma of what happened and the losses, and then you're stuck in coping and surviving, there's no room for dreaming. So by doing lesson 1, doing session 2, doing session 1 again, doing session 2, what happens is that continuous care, you bring back the ability to dream again, to have a new vision of what your life could look like now. Taking what you've lost, where you are, and starting to dream about how do you want that to look again. So let's just say you built a home 7 years ago, and this home has been burnt. So you may choose to rebuild the same home, but it's a new vision. It's a new way of looking at this home. Maybe your home burnt and you want to rebuild a different home. Maybe you want to sell the land and move somewhere else. But it'll be your vision that you start to have dream about. And the beautiful part about this is that you start. You can always erase it. You can always make it different. But you have to start the process of redreaming again in this loss.
If you break down the creative process of how do we create something, it all begins with a thought or a vision, an image, and then it's spoken, it's externalized. And then as the externalization gets momentum, then it gets energized and gets created. So if you look at rebuilding a house, you first conceive a blueprint in your mind or in your heart, and then it's externalized through writing it out. And then from there, it's energized to where it begins to come into structure.
Right. It gives it life.
Gives it life. So we're encouraging you to, you know, as you start to patch up and heal, is like give yourself permission to start visioning again. What is it that you want? What does the ideal work life look like? Well, you say, Dean, I don't have the resources. I didn't have insurance. I didn't have this. I didn't have that. Yes, I understand.
We hear you.
It doesn't matter. You still need to reignite your vision.
Yes.
Because, you know, in Scripture it says, without a vision, people perish.
That's right.
But with the vision, it actually energizes things to start manifesting things. And you may know this principle, and yet we need you to reignite it now.
Yes.
As HollyKem said, as long as we're stuck in survival mode, we will not vision for the future. We lose our dreams. We lose our hope.
Yeah.
And yet hope starts to get ignited as you start to dream. As a couple, it's good to talk about, you know, if we could be anywhere in 3 years, we had no limitation, we had all the resources that were needed, what would that look like for you? What would you want? What would it look like for me? You ask the kids, what would you like it to be? And start putting together sort of the collage or the pieces of the ideal life. Well, you say, well, we may not be able to achieve that. It doesn't matter.
No.
If you start seeing it, things start moving in alignment to bring that about.
Well, in this too is knowing that, let's say you got to session 3 and you're like, I can't do it. Then you go back and you do session 1 again, and you do session 2 again, and then you come to session 3 again and see, maybe I can write one thing down. Maybe I see one thing. And then you do session 1 again, you do session 2 again, and you get to session 3 again. And now you can vision more, because it's just going to be a matter of, when you get here, how much can you give? How much can you vision? And that just gives you an indication that I may still be in survival mode, which is fine. It's a huge loss here. So just know that you can do session 1 and 2 over and over, so you can open up your heart, so you can do session 3 for yourself and for the people that you love around you.
And you've also mentioned earlier, HollyKem, how important at this stage in session 3 is to foster or to practice gratitude. Why is it important to practice gratitude?
Well, gratitude is something that helps me see what I did get from this tragedy. So I'm grateful that I have my family, I have my husband, I have my children. I'm grateful I have my pet. I'm grateful that I still have the land where my house was. I'm grateful that my business didn't burn. I start to be able to see what is still here that matters to me. And from there, that allows me to build from there. So the main thing is we have ourselves if we're doing this. And then what do we have from there? And that part starts to build from the true self, what is important to me. First, what I do have, and then what is it that I want to create? And, I'm thinking about, we're talking to Los Angeles, the people that create, the people that create all these beautiful things for us to all appreciate. And so in that, I'm coming back to creating my own life. How do I want that to look? What was so important to me that I lost that I want to bring that back to me? So in that is first just allowing your heart to be open to allow that to happen.
I had a fellow one time I was working with, and he got a divorce. His wife left him. It wasn't really his choice. He was devastated. Mm-hmm. It was like a ground zero. He lost his dream, his vision, what his future was going to be like. His family was totally different. And so we went through the steps. Step 1, we recognized the losses. We helped him grieve. And he really went through the grief process. He recognized his session 2, his healthy and his unhealthy behaviors. Mm-hmm. And he was struggling with an addiction. He came out of the addiction. He let go of a number of things that were unhealthy for him. And then he got to session 3. Mm-hmm. And what I did, the exercise I did with him, is I said, I want you to write down the ideal woman, partner for you to have in your life. And what are the characteristics? I want you to be as specific as possible. And he came up with, I think, 25 characteristics. And some of them were physical, some of them were just attributes, some of them were like-mindedness, hobbies, and so forth. And he dreamed about the ideal mate. And it was almost as if he went through the menu and he put in his order. Like, this is my order of what I want in my future relationship. And it was about a year later, he contacted me. And he said, I'm getting married. I said, yes, you are. Great. And he said, she has 23 of the 25 characteristics that I wrote. And he's still married to this day. It's been a wonderful thing. And this is probably 30 years down the road. But my whole point is that that's the process. Mm-hmm. Hit ground zero with the devastation of the loss. Owned his coping behaviors and made some shifts there. And then he began to dream about what he wanted in the future. And he wrote it out. And that became sort of his true north that he was focused on. And this is what he was going after. And then it was manifested in his life. And then he's had this long-term partnership. So that's really what we want for you, is that as we keep working, as HollyKem said over and over again through session 1 and session 2, is that session 3 is time to recalibrate your dream, to spend time creating the vision of your ideal life. And let's externalize that. Let's write it out and let that be your true north as you begin to rebuild your life and come out of the ashes.
Yes.
So we're going to move from session 3 to the activation, and so we want to give you full permission to dream and go after that, and we're going to help you do that as we transition to the activation for session 3.